Hey everyone, Mario here. Today I wanted to discuss one of the sad realities of bodybuilding. I don't think there are too many, but it's a significant one, and it's one that affects athletes of reaching a higher level and wanting to basically make a career out of something that they enjoy doing, they love doing, are in many cases obsessed with doing, and that being muscle building, leaning down, everything that surrounds bodybuilding. So basically, not just getting in shape, but competing on stage. There are many people wanting to follow the sort of lifestyle and hopefully make a career out of this, because like any professional sport, if you're not financially compensated, it makes it extremely difficult to reach those higher levels and to continue doing it. I mean, you cannot sustain something without being compensated financially. So that's the reality of our current market, our capitalist economy. It's just essential to get paid for what you do. So if you're not getting paid doing what you love, you need to get paid doing other things. And the problem with this lies that for other endeavors, it might not be a 24/7 kind of discipline sport. It might just be painting occasionally. It might be creating content for the web, whatever it may be. I mean, bodybuilding is considered by almost every athlete as the most difficult sport. If you speak to anyone that's done bodybuilding but has also done other sports, they'll immediately tell you that it's the most difficult thing. It's harder than martial arts, believe it or not. I've spoken to some guys that had sixth dan, and were extremely advanced in martial arts, and yet they also competed in bodybuilding, and they immediately said that bodybuilding was just it's 24/7, it's discipline, it's being socially almost like deficient. I mean, you gotta kind of create your own little ecosystem, and everything revolves around that. So it makes life extremely difficult, and it makes it tough to make money as well. In a job, working 9 to 5, it's just almost like too tough. So a lot of bodybuilders are personal trainers, and sadly some take the route of prostitution, and this goes for men just as much as it does for women in the sport. And when things get to that point, it makes you question the validity of the organizations behind these sports, and not just the organizations, but how where money is coming from, where is it going, and how it affects athletes ultimately, who in my mind should be paid more than anyone. And it's normal that a general manager of a sports team, for example in hockey or any other sport, basketball, will be paid more than the athletes, or some of the athletes. And it's because they're kind of the ones participating in creating this organization, and they own the platform. So it's similar to like web technologies, large e-commerce sites, etc., etc. It's very much a form of hierarchy, and in bodybuilding, especially, the athletes are really at the bottom of that echelon. So I just wanted to bring some of this to light and talk briefly about it. I think it's an issue that needs to be sort of improved upon. And I think it does start with the companies that are sponsors to bodybuilding events, shows, whether it's a competitive event or if it's guest posing, also sports kind of large kind of scale events that are not even taking place in an auditorium, but in large exposés and all of that sort of expositions and all of those sort of events where an athlete might be present promoting product. And it's here's one of the funniest things I've heard in bodybuilding, and of course this is very prominent. Many times an athlete who's quite good in what they do, might be a national level bodybuilder, for example, might even be a professional bodybuilder, having their pro card, let's just say, and they are sponsored, or they'll say they're sponsored by a supplement company, a nutritional supplement brand. And really what that entails is a little bit of exposure. They'll pay for them to, not always, they won't even always pay for them for their flights, etc., anything associated with these sort of exposition events, or even competing on stage, but they'll sometimes cover those fees, and they'll offer free supplements to this particular person. So and so if you're maybe you're thinking about it, maybe you're not, but like where's the financial compensation? And many of them will say, well, it's not so much the supplements that we offer for free, as much as they need, as much as they want. It's really the exposure. The exposure is something that is going to propel your career forward and help you to open up a popular gym, or they might make a suggestion. I've never even heard of any sort of suggestions offered by any of these brands, speaking about how the athletes can profit from what they're really good at and what they enjoy doing. Of course, this being the sport of bodybuilding, whether it's recreational or rather the aspect of the actual training involved in the gym, countless hours of preparing meals and eating and all of the meticulous details that go into creating this amazing physique to be portrayed on stage ultimately. I just find it kind of ridiculous that that is the epitome of that's the top of most of these athletes' experiences. Like that's the most they'll get: supplements and exposure, so that they can maybe open up a gym or a personal training studio, or but here's the thing, that those things, opening up a gym, opening up a personal training studio, and possibly the goal I would think in that case is to have some personal trainers under you, having a team of trainers where you're more working on your business rather than in your business, as most entrepreneurs should. But those things take a great deal of investments and a great deal of time. And honestly speaking, as an athlete in this, once again, this 24/7 kind of sport where even the rest is important. Like the rest is important. You have to be meticulous with sleep and naps and kind of like relaxation time. So you're taking basically a person that should be focusing all of their efforts on this sport and not giving them anything. And not supplements it's honestly, it's nothing. I mean, it's, you know, $200 a month, and US dollars will get you more than enough supplements for that month. And this is for an athlete that takes like 3 shakes a day, maybe a meal replacement shake on top of those 3 protein shakes, and yeah, like, I mean, glutamine, glucosamine, nitric oxide, creatine, whatever. You could throw all of those things in, and it won't come out to more than $200, $200 or $300 maybe on the extremely high side. But I digress. It's kind of ridiculous that that's the only thing being offered, aside from some exposure. But even the exposure, it's, you know, just when you're in amazing shape, just walking down the street is exposure for you. It's sometimes even better exposure than being at events. You know, it's easier to convert people you see on a regular basis in your neighborhood, but you know, a business has to be attached to that. And I think a lot of bodybuilders would be extremely successful trainers, but typically they're not the most successful trainers. And once again, it comes back to this idea of having a lot of time dedicated to the sport and not really having the energy. So it's not just the time, but it's also the energy to create a profitable, lucrative personal training business with trainers under you. And even if you're training people in parks and park gyms and outdoor kind of facilities, and that are, you know, have no costs associated with them, no paying of gym owners for using that area, still it's not easy to kind of create these sort of businesses. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy. Anyone that's, you know, been a trainer knows it's similar to a barber, I suppose, or any other service seller. Having 3 or 4 sessions, you know, back to back, is extremely tiring, and you're kind of like a bartender where you're listening to their problems. And so you're like not just their personal trainer for their physique and physical health, but you're also a sort of therapist, and that could be emotionally draining. It takes a lot of energy to constantly speak with someone for, you know, 5 hours straight, and that's what happens when you train 3 or 4 people in a row. So you know, all I'm saying is that supplement brands that seem to be the ones leading the financial space associated with the sport of bodybuilding really need to step up. And it's, you know, even event promoters and anyone that's organizing these sort of events, I think needs to get a little creative. And if they can't directly pay athletes for what they're doing and what they do best, you know, I think we need to start looking at some creative, innovative ways of doing so. So what I can suggest to, let's say, you know, fill that void in the meantime, is for athletes to take charge. And I would say not to boycott in any way any of these companies or anything like that, but I think you shouldn't dedicate time to something that doesn't bring you anything directly. You got to look at this sport as a job, as more than a job, as a career. I'd say even further than that, as a business. And you got to be smart about it, and you got to be tough about it. So, but at the same time, like I was saying, it's not to boycott anything. That's not why I'm saying it. I'm saying why I'm saying to do that is to not take part in events that aren't paying you, is that you're not going to be able to do that for very long, and the energy that takes away from your own training and takes away from possibly healthy social interactions with your family, your spouse, your kids. I mean, you don't want to be traveling around the country for peanuts. As soon as somebody says there's some sort of event in another city and you need to be there, excuse me, but a couple of $1,000s at least. If it's something that takes a couple of days, so it's a one weekend event, and you'd have to take a flight on Friday and be leaving on Monday. I mean, I would say at least a weekly salary, and I would probably double that up because, once again, it disrupts whatever you're maybe doing on the side or whatever job you might currently hold, to be able to pay for your food and pay for just your time associated with this endeavor. So and a lot of people are bodybuilders, and they're supporting their family. They're the sole breadwinner in their home. They have children. I mean, come on. I think it's just something that needs to be addressed. So supplement brands out there, you got to really step things up, and hopefully that'll help things. But like I said, in the meantime, what a bodybuilder can do is not take part in those sort of events. Don't worry about exposure. You'll get enough exposure, like I said, just being yourself, being who you are, training in various gyms. Nowadays, there's a lot of these sort of franchise gyms that allow you to train in every single one of their facilities under one low monthly price. So take advantage of that, and many of these gyms will be scattered around your city and area you live in. So utilize that. That's a great way to gain exposure. Offering a helpful hand, spotting somebody in the gym, offering some free advice here and there. Not necessarily soliciting clients, but just being yourself and trying to be a good Samaritan, good person, and offer some value to someone that could use it. That's word of mouth is still very, very powerful. I wouldn't say it's popular, but it's very, very powerful. In my younger years of getting onto the internet and having websites, I immediately kind of discounted it and thought to myself, well, the internet is the future, and just that sort of word of mouth, social media and search engine optimization, and that's going to be the way to get traffic and get views and get people interested in my products and services. And but the truth is that a lot of business is generated locally, even today. Even brands that seem to be really pushing their e-commerce sites and be shipping products internationally, many times they have a very strong local retail kind of presence. So, and the same goes for a service seller or consultant. Once again, like I was saying, you don't need to solicit clients. I'm talking about just general exposure, where somebody could say, okay, well, what's your Instagram? What's your website? And I'd like to learn more about what you offer. And you're not necessarily taking that person away from another trainer or making them change gyms or something like that. I think it's just adding value to a person's overall fitness journey, and I don't see anything wrong with that. And so like I was saying, that's great for exposure, but it still doesn't solve the problem of finances for a person that's an athlete in this, once again, 24/7, very difficult, very disciplined sport. So what I was going to say you can also do is, if you are working a job, a 9-to-5, and it's very stressful for you, you don't necessarily need to quit right away, but you might have to do something that's completely crazy and make things just a bit harder for yourself for at least a couple of weeks. Delve into this, try it. I would say become a trainer if you're not either generating enough money to comfortably compete in the sport of bodybuilding, or if you feel like you need more time to rest, more time to plan out your days, more time to prepare meals and to eat those meals. It's going to be a journey. It's going to be something very tough for let's say a couple of weeks, couple of months. But this is really just to kind of test the waters out and see if it's for you, because personal training is not really for everyone. I enjoy it. I personally find it kind of freeing in a sense, especially if you're an independent trainer, because there are opportunities for training individuals in so many different locations and areas. I mean, you can train a person in their home, you can train them in your home. With everything going on today, it makes it a little tougher, but things seem to be opening up in most of the Western world, let's say. So hopefully a normal will be achieved. Either way, there's outdoor park gyms. I have a few clients in a gym that's nearby. It's to my house, and it's an outdoor gym, so there's no fee to pay or anything like that. You can charge less. Your clients are happy to be outside, getting some sun, getting some fresh air as they work out. And everybody's kind of in a better mood, I'd say, because of that. But either way, that might not be for you. But like I said, there's many opportunities. Speak to gym owners. See, if you find that perfect kind of modern. Some people like the high-tech kind of large gyms with the newest, latest, greatest equipment. Many of these gyms offer, a sort of office to their trainers. So you could be an independent trainer and pay a couple of $100 a month to have the ability to basically solicit their clients and talk to whoever you want and spot them and offer some free advice and get them in the door that way. And it could lead to something very lucrative. And either way, personal training is one option, but like I said, it's not for everyone. Not everybody really enjoys it. Not everybody that's in great shape wants to help others get in shape. So honestly, off the top of my head, another thing that you can do as an athlete is use whatever exposure you're currently getting through your social media accounts, through, like I said, your local kind of through local word of mouth. Anyone that's maybe interested in knowing more about your training and how you could possibly help them, launch a website. I mean, and try to, I would say that's a better route to take than just simply having a social media presence. I mean, like, you want to kind of almost not own the platform, but own the create an ecosystem for yourself and have a little bit more proprietary control over your own intellectual property and how you can service clients and how you can charge them and what payment processors to use, and so it's a little less limited when it's your own website. And I can help with that. If you have a question, just send me a message, because I've been doing this for years. You can just contact me through web.org/contact, and I'd be happy to help you help point you into the right direction for that. And back in the day when I was a little younger, just getting started, kind of marketing websites online, because that's a side, let's say, hustle that I have, and I've been doing that for several years. It was actually really easy to get traffic, and through social media, but I would say even more so search engine optimization. So basically ranking a website in Google's, especially Google's free listings, or you can also call them organic listings or editorial listings. So and back in the day, nobody really clicked on the paid ads, because they knew that those people just kind of paid their way up there, and instead of offering value, which is very strongly based on Google's algorithms and how they are able to rank these sites. It's they're looking for sites that offer great content, regularly post new content, etc. So those are the sites I used to rank with, and it'd be so easy to put up a site and make $200-300 a week from, and you can have multiple sites like that. That's why so many online entrepreneurs in previous days would have 50 or 60 websites, because they would just repeat this process and eventually make a few $100,000 a year. So it's very doable, and it's still doable today, even though it has become much more competitive. The social media space, as much as it's become more popular, has also become very competitive, very tough to compete with. But if you can do a fraction of what other social media influencers, let's say, can achieve through their social media platforms, but do it on your own website, you'll likely make twice as much money as them. So it's literally, like, I'd say 8 times more profitable approximately than someone that's once again on selling directly through their Instagram, or trying to get paid through ads posted on here on YouTube. It's using basically YouTube's ad network. It's not going to bring you too much profit money. You really need to have like an insane number of views on your videos to be getting enough clicks to support any sort of serious income that way. So and there are many examples of that. So anyways, those are just 2 things you could do: become a trainer, and or launch a website, and really focus on that website, and to take it as far as you can. I would say to try to focus on one website. So whereas people before would have 50 or 60 websites, that sort of thing doesn't really work anymore, because of how competitive every sort of industry has become online. So you really want to kind of pick a niche and focus on that niche. A niche is essentially a industry or a part of an industry that's maybe sometimes fairly untapped, but has a large demand for. So give that a shot, and that's a second thing you can do. A third thing I would say is be a little more proactive with supplement brands, because I think there's a lot of up-and-coming supplement companies that don't necessarily think like more old school, more legacy and larger supplement brands that maybe neglected the athletes a little bit, especially with some of the things I spoke of already. Possibly paying for their flights to and hotel rooms when they're staying for a certain exposition event or a guest posing event, and giving them free supplements aside from that and nothing else. No pay, basically. No income. Let alone any sort of recurring income like you would get in a job or a business that's functioning well. So that's something that you might want to do as well. Approach some of these newer brands, and they might not think like those companies. So they might be totally different in their perspective of how an athlete should be compensated. And I think more and more when it comes to entrepreneurship, same goes with customers of products. Like, everybody's kind of waking up to the truth of things, I think, or rather they're just becoming more open and apparent, and it's just coming to the surface, maybe because of cell phones and cell phone cameras, and there's more evidence or something to support the truths that about associated with, like, you know, how people are being taken advantage of, and you know, even customers sometimes wouldn't like to hear those things, that, you know, the athlete that they look up to and purchased, and is the reason why they purchased certain products, you know, to hear that the company, you know, responsible for these sort of products might be, you know, they might enjoy the products, they might, you know, but they ultimately were marketed to by the athletes. Like, the athlete was what brought them in, and the customers are very aware of this, and they're fine with it. You know, they're loyal to this bodybuilder, not so much to the company. So, you know, I just feel like athletes should be compensated more, and hopefully there are, you know, I do believe there are more and more companies like this that value their employees, value, you know, any sort of marketing partnerships that they create with individuals or groups of individuals. So if you're an athlete with an amazing body, you know, very good at getting, I'd say, getting noticed, but also building some rapport with potential customers, whether it be for a service or product, then, you know, there's no reason why you can't just make a phone call and just get in touch with hopefully it's a brand that works out of your hometown, has a warehouse there, and you'd be surprised, you know, they might offer a part-time job, you know, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, and pay you a full-time salary as long as you could occasionally do an event. And that would save you quite a bit of time. That saves you, you know, 4 hours of what would be a regular working job or career. So, you know, right there, it cuts your work time in half. You know, occasionally performing at an event every couple of months or even every couple of weeks is okay, as long as they are compensating you for that as well. So that's an idea. That's something you can maybe pitch to them. I mean, let me work part-time, pay me full-time, but I'll also you know, include some events, and maybe for every second event I would request a little bit of a bonus, because, you know, once again, it's taking your time away from your family on the weekends. You know, for however long this sort of event is, you're sleeping, you know, somewhere else. You're not with your family, so there's nothing wrong with this. And hopefully, you know, like, some companies are gonna, you know, accept that. So there are many options. I think, like I said, supplement brands need to start becoming a little bit more conscious of this, and need to be innovative and creative. Think of new ways to compensate the athletes. If they're really tight on cash after the CEO is paid and all the employees are paid, that anyone you know, involved in the logistics and shipping of products, for example. I mean, once they're paid and there's not much left of profit after the executives are paid, then, like I said, they just need to be a little bit more creative. Maybe launch their own events instead of relying on sort of major organizations or you know, or third-party organizations. Maybe they could start launching their own events. Maybe they could eventually make it a weekly thing. Maybe bodybuilding can become a mainstream sport. It's very much a possibility. I mean, just look at every you know, major sport. Like, there is an element of bodybuilding in terms of the training they do to get their physiques up to a certain level, up to par with, you know, what is the standard kind of in that sport. And yeah, like, everybody does weight training, everybody does resistance training. Every athlete in any sport, almost any sport, will do some form of bodybuilding training. So why are, you know, the epitome, why is the person with the most amazing physique, or the individuals with the most amazing physiques, why are they compensated the least? It doesn't make sense. Bodybuilders are you know, motivators and inspiration for athletes of almost all sports. Like I've never met an athlete of any sport that didn't kind of at some point have a picture of a golden era bodybuilder on their wall. And you know, so many of them were influenced by that and maybe started that way with weight training, and it was more just a physique thing, and then later on they were able to apply that to you know, their sport. It helped them become literally more grounded. And I used to say this about soccer or football. If you're in England, in Europe, or pretty much anywhere else in the world, you know, you'd call it football. I played this sport, and you know, with muscle building, what it helped me with, being a very scrawny, very skinny, lanky kind of person when I first started out, I was also playing soccer, and I wasn't very planted. You know, if somebody kind of checked me a little bit, or you know, tried to push me around, it was very easy for them to do so, up until the point where I started training, and very quickly I was more grounded on my feet. In a way, I was quicker at turning around and you know, doing certain moves. So even though I was heavier, and I was able to literally hold my ground. So, I mean, like I was saying, you know, bodybuilding, it's a part of so many sports, so many athletes. Probably 90%, if not more, have some sort of admiration for, you know, bodybuilding and bodybuilders. So why are we paid the least? Why are we, in some cases, not even compensated? You know, you hear of top 5, I won't name the organization, but top 5 athletes in bodybuilding in the world. There are sometimes 1 or 2 of those guys don't have any sort of contract. Like, they're either personal trainers, which I gave that as a suggestion, great, but when you're at that level, I mean, do you really want to be, you know, kind of, excuse me for saying, but kind of breaking your head trying to, you know, write programs for your clients and have, you know, manage a team of trainers under you possibly, and you know, it's just too much. It's too much. It's like insanity, really. And this is how I always viewed it. And you know, I think the general attitude in the industry was always like, well, it's you know, just a part of the sport. That's what it is. There's just no money in the sport. And yet, when you look at a lot of these supplement brands, did you notice they all have, you can look at their social media accounts and their, you know, videos that they put out and stuff. The CEOs very often have, like, it's kind of part of the culture. They have like the whatever muscle nutrition, you know, whatever their company is, house. So it's like the CEO will have this humongous home, or they have a humongous headquarters. Like they'll own an entire building. I mean, what companies have that? There's so many large brands that only have a floor of a large kind of modern skyscraper type building. So they'll even, the few hundred or even over 1,000 employees will actually be all on that same kind of floor. So imagine they have like multiple levels, not necessarily, skyscrapers, but they'll have like a sort of 4 or 5 story building like all to themselves that can house, it's like it's empty in there, they have their employees and stuff, but it's honestly, and of course their operations, everything's going through there. It's probably a warehouse as well, but it's ridiculous that I find that they have these sort of humongous facilities, whether they're paying rent or they actually own the land, own the building. I mean, there is money there. There's a lot of money there. Like a lot of these companies, when they sell to an even larger brand, it's for like over $100 million. Some of them go up to like $1 billion, even more. So like, do you really think they can compensate the 10 athletes that form the face of this company? Of course they can compensate those athletes, and even a roster of kind of up and coming athletes to form the future of the face of this brand, of their brand. So I'm just, it's just something I didn't want to get, you know, in trouble myself with any supplement brands. I don't want to point the finger at that industry. Like I said, there could be apparel. I might not have mentioned it, but I was thinking in making this video that there are other companies, types of companies that can be involved in bodybuilding, apparel companies, equipment companies. I think that's a very untapped area where bodybuilders and you know, up and coming aspiring bodybuilders can get involved with. I think you know, I think there can be some more home kind of training or you know, portable devices. Companies that offer these sort of devices can maybe somehow integrate, you know, athlete sponsorships that way, or even employment. And honestly, you know, employment, you know, by a lot of people is almost like looked down upon sometimes, but employees tend to make more money than entrepreneurs in general. So, you know, not taking into account how much the top entrepreneurs make, but looking at what, let's say, the average is. I mean, a person with a regular job, even sometimes not necessarily minimum wage, but a bit above minimum wage, will make more than an entrepreneur will make in his lifetime, just because it's consistent and it's like week after week. So even employment is something that I think a lot of these companies can consider, and obviously take bodybuilders strongly into account for. So especially if they form the face of this brand, they're the reason why they're selling these products. So like I said, it's an untapped kind of space. I think you know, training equipment, like I said, it could be portable equipment. It could also be commercial kind of grade equipment for the home, for the fitness studio, or for commercial gyms. Either way, there needs to be some creativity in the space. There needs to be a little bit of innovation, okay? Because the athletes need to start getting compensated. Otherwise, this sport will continue to be a little bit of a ridicule. And I say that with utmost respect for the sport. I wanted to be a bodybuilder from quite young. I would have loved to have made that my career for 20, even 30 years, maybe, who knows, going into, you know, my golden years of, you know, it being part of, let's say, the 50 and over group, or the 40 and over group. I would have loved to have been a professional kind of athlete in that space, and I would have, you know, promoted one brand or two or three brands. I would have done that, but there was just never any opportunities out there. I tried contacting people when I was in shape. I tried contacting people when I was out of shape, because I knew that I could get in shape. I wanted to make a documentary at one point and show this transition, and of course there was a whole story and my kind of like my life story behind it, and it was really interesting, and maybe I should have done it. Maybe it would have landed me a little supplement contract, but I don't think it would have gotten me anything sustainable because of the current, like I said, the current market, the current economy, the way everything runs in bodybuilding. It's like the athletes are always at the bottom, complete bottom, you know, even lower than people that work for a supplement company shipping products. I mean, those people are probably paid a decent salary. It's crazy. These athletes are the reason why these products are selling, and like I said, it doesn't have to be supplements. It could be fitness equipment, it could be apparel, and there's probably, like, you know, a host of other types of products that could be sold and promoted through the use of basically an athlete's physique, and images and videos and you know, how-to videos on training, videos kind of like how that I post. I mean, I don't know if you guys derive that much value from them, but I think that you could, if only, you know, enough people, let's say, follow this advice. But also, if somebody, you know, is kind of backing, you know, the videos, the budget is bigger, so quality of content is better, and yeah, there's like a lot that athletes and companies selling products can work together on. So anyways, I just wanted to kind of, you know, I wanted to bring this to light, and hopefully it's something that would be taken a little bit more seriously. And I think athletes need to get a little tougher. We're not necessarily boycotting events or the companies that are somewhat, you know, backing them in their career, but they need to be a little more present and more assertive, and offer suggestions and let them know. I mean, just tell them, look, I can't do this for more than a year. I mean, do you want me for the next 10 years? Then, you know, I want this, and this. Like, there's nothing wrong. I need this minimum salary. Figure out a way to do it. If you can't figure it out, I'll figure it out, but it's not going to be with you. And that's how you need to treat this. That's how you need to approach this. So, you know, I hope it helps someone out there. Maybe somehow, you know, this is gonna go somewhat viral, and that'd be great. Not because for my own benefit, but because I would like, you know, to see, for some athletes, professional athletes, even to see this video and take themselves a little more seriously. I feel terrible for the ones that, like I said, some get involved in prostitution. I mean, for you to have to stoop to that level and to that sort of, you know, to get into that sort of thing, there's really something very detrimental, very wrong with the industry. And it starts with these, you know, companies that have more influence in the space, the ones that are you know, getting the sort of cash flow going. You know, they need to step up and be a little more generous. I mean, if you're a good person, so, you know, once again, if it goes viral, I hope, you know, supplement company owners and, you know, fitness apparel company owners and anyone involved in that space using bodybuilders to promote their brand, really, you know, look into your heart. If you're a decent human being and you have a soul, I mean, you know, just spend a day with a bodybuilder and look at what they do. Okay, look at a 30 or 35-year-old bodybuilder. Follow him for the day. Okay, you're gonna see them work possibly a job that they hate, that's stressful, that actually is detrimental to their results, and then you're gonna see everything they do after and before that has to compensate for that, and obviously overcompensate. So they need to eat twice as much as what they would maybe normally have to eat, because they're not getting enough rest, because they have too much nervous tension. It's just being it's become a very imbalanced thing. For me, bodybuilding is about balance. It's something even that athletes can really teach others about, but they need to be compensated. That big piece of the puzzle is missing. So it's normal that, you know, many athletes will look like, you know, their life is kind of in shambles, and on the low side, like I said, prostitution. I mean, come on, this is something that needs to be rectified. It needs to be made better. So, you know, if you're a good person, you're a CEO of a company, or you're a top executive in the company, make the suggestion to anyone above you. Board members, it's very important that a person's compensated, and please don't especially come to me and tell me that there's no money. All right, and like I said, if the money is not there, I think you can come up with some innovative ways through a little bit of hustle, through a little bit of creativity, innovation. Once again, you know, there could be a way. Online events. Look at what everything's going. Look at everything going on today. You know, getting online has become, you know, huge. So if you're not really online, get online. Make that a big part of your company, and use these athletes to do live chats, with video chats with potential customers. They could become your sales reps, and like I said, take time into consideration. You know, so I don't think an athlete should work more than 4 or 5 hours of a job, and a regular kind of job scenario. So take that into consideration. Take, of course, the pay into consideration, because if they are working 4 hours, they can't possibly thrive on a minimum wage salary. So take, you know, how much they're paid into consideration, time once again, and just overall energy. And you know, it might sound kind of like cliche and kind of cheesy, but like, just find the love in your heart. You know, an athlete needs love just like anybody else. Like you need attention like anybody else. And you know, I think a lot of bodybuilders are artists in a way. So what does an artist want? Almost above all, it wants recognition for, you know, its work. His or her work demands sort of you know, some positive attention and recognition. So they you know, they, in the end, I think a lot of bodybuilders, that's why they continue to do it. It's because they feel like it's an art form and they have something to give, and many times they give it for free, and it's kind of sad. So I think, once again, company owners and board members and executives, anyone at the, you know, top in the top management kind of team, can really help these athletes and find it in your heart, find the love for them as well. Hopefully this message is gonna be put out, and enough people involved in the sport at higher levels will see it and be able to help the athletes and be a little more conscious of what they go through. Like I said, just spend the day with an athlete, a bodybuilder specifically, and you'll see what they go through. You'll see how hard it is. I mean, and if the person's genuine and could just be honest, you know, in your presence, like, I mean, many bodybuilders are very emotional because of the struggles they go through, the tears, the blood, the sweat, the everything that they put their heart into this, and once again still have to, not have to, but choose to. But it's like almost an instinctive thing, right? To have a family, they choose to have a family. They have a family, and their spouse is suffering, their kids are suffering. So I think if you spend the day with them, and hopefully do it more than once, you'll see all of these things, and maybe put yourself in their shoes for 1 week, or even if it's that one day, and try to envision yourself in their position. And you're gonna probably think to yourself, why in the world do they do this, really? Aside from the recognition, I mean, why would a person put themselves through this? That shows you the level of determination that bodybuilders have to be doing something without hardly any compensation. Even the exposure is not as, you know, as big, as prominent as what, you know, companies will promise them, and there are not that many shows every year in bodybuilding. And I think, you know, things can really be taken to another level. This can become, like I said, in some cases, some organizations would maybe have the ability to turn this into sort of like a weekly event sport. So you know, you're competing on a regular basis, but things don't have to be as extreme. So an extreme in terms of tanning, extreme in terms of dieting, you know, like maybe athletes don't need to be as lean, as dry, and have striated glutes. And, you know, we need to start looking at things at a more in a more natural way, in a more healthy way, because like I said, bodybuilding, you know, in its essence, I believe, is a very balanced sports. It can create harmony even in your work, in your career life, in your social life. It helps a person in other areas, many other areas. So why don't we promote this and show this to fans, and show the world kind of almost how to live, you know, how to live a healthy life and how to live a balanced life, instead of everything being so extreme. And even, you know, in terms of the poverty involved in it, is, you know, it's become extreme. When you're not getting paid anything, that's poverty right there. You're promoting poverty within a sport. So I'm passionate about this. I really wasn't going to put out this video, but I you know, I said Like, what the heck? It needs to be said. I don't see many people talking about it. I don't know if it's from fear of being, you know, kind of persecuted and or even prosecuted or whatever in court. Like, I think you know, it's honestly, somebody needed to talk about it. So you know, share the video, you know, let it go a little bit viral. I mean, we need, and I never say this in any of my videos. I don't think I've ever used that word viral in any of my videos. I'm not a person, you know, clearly, I think if you watch my videos, you can see I'm not about hype or anything like that. But it's more important probably than any of my videos, because even if I'm teaching you how to build muscle, how to get leaner, that's very valuable content for the individual, but for the sport in general, for things to keep going forward, to keep moving forward and to get better, I mean, athletes need to start getting compensated, because they are the face not only of the brands that they sometimes work with, but they're the face of the sport, and some, you know, it's even, for some, it's even further, going further than that. It's they're the face of you know, of health and fitness in general. So yeah, if you can do your little part and share the video, maybe share it with a friend of yours that's a amateur athlete, an amateur bodybuilder, or a professional bodybuilder. Even better, share it with your, you know, supplement store owner, supplement company and brand owner, you know, whoever is involved in the sport and can maybe influence things for the best. So all the best to you guys, and thanks for continually watching my videos. I know I don't have the strongest, have a large fan base, but I maybe have a strong fan base. So I honestly, you know, I'm not looking for fans. I'm really looking to help people. And this is just another one of those videos. I did want to dedicate some time to actual competing athletes, especially professional athletes, but I mean, even more so in a way, amateur athletes, because they're the aspiring professional athletes. They're trying to make it in the sport, and they're the future of the sport. So it's for young athletes, but it could also be an older athlete that just, you know, pick things up to this level at a later date, you know, a later age, you know, an older age. That's fine. Bodybuilding, one of the coolest things about bodybuilding is that you can be at your best, you know, when you're 47 years old. And it's been shown. There have been people that have won major competitions, you know, gotten their gold medal and been #1 at that age, 45, 47, some even older, I believe. So, you know, what sport has this sort of longevity? You know, if you're, once again, involved in the sport in terms of selling products, I mean, you know, what could be better than to have an athlete work directly with you for, you know, 15, 20 years? I mean, who has these, you know, careers, 30 years maybe? I mean, there's a lot of, you know, if they're loyal, they'll stay with you, but you got to treat them well. So all the best, and yeah, let's make this work. Okay, guys, see you in the next video. Once again, my site is veb.org if you ever want to check it out. There's some advice on fitness, muscle building, and beyond. Thanks.